Folks, welcome to the Bwoah Racing League race number 6 as we head to the Principality of Monaco to take to the Monte Carlo street circuit that I personally absolutely love. I'm your host and voice behind the mic, Zetaxter, as always in the Bwoah Racing League. I'll be joined by Dalvin soon enough, hopefully. Seems like he's been running a bit late, but regardless, a disappointing showing of drivers. Not even a 10-car grid here today, but nevertheless, we race. These 6 cars should count for quite the spectacle. However small or large, it'll be interesting to see around a circuit like this one, considering how tricky it's going to get and how smart are the drivers to go through these difficult sections of this track. Now we're going to be talking all about the track, all about the race, what it means for the championship. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, hit that like as well. I know 6 cars aren't the most ideal of things to see out on a sim racing track of all things. Hopefully, heading into the next couple of races, we see a full racing grid. One can, hope for the best. We've seen full racing grids in the past here in the Bwoah Racing League. Disappointing to see just 6, but I guess we can drop that. It is shock qualifying after all. 18 minutes for each driver to set a lap time to seal a spot, a grid box ahead of the race itself. 6 drivers, they'll be fighting even more, staunchly, if anything, for the podium positions. 3 of them, only 3 of them are going to be on the podium out of the 6. So they're going to try their best to keep it clean. Finishing is going to count for so much more in a situation like this one. We've got just over 15 minutes left to qualifying itself here today around Monte Carlo street circuit. And we got some heavyweights out on track, regardless of there being only 6 drivers. We got Freeze, Envy, Horning, KDB, and Big Man Joe and Sickening. Big Man Joe, 2 wins this season so far. Envy, a win for himself. Levi, Tiger Pants! And as I say that, Freeze, on a track he absolutely adores, sending it into the wall, losing the front left, and that is the end of qualifying for the man who loves this track. And in fact, one of the main reasons we are running this race, despite having just 6 cars, that is utterly sad for Freeze in the Mercedes car. He won't be pleased. He'll be kicking himself hard. But like I said, finishing is going to count for so much more in a race like this one. In a session, every session is going to count. Qualifying is going to count. So it's a proper challenge for Freeze. He's going to be starting at the back of the pack. He's going to be starting down in P4. What's up? Oh. Apologies, folks, but I just wanted to tap some of our viewers on their back. Wife, and great to see you return. Envy with the fastest lap time, 1 minute 10.604. And that is the lap time to beat. I'm pretty sure Big Man Joe and Sicknick might just be having a grin or something larger than a grin on their faces, seeing the Freeze, one of the drivers who've been practicing day in and day out and consistently been craving to get this race going around Monaco in particular, and yeah, just excited, just hoping we get to see some of his best talent in the race itself. But right now, the same about Horning, who's on a fast lap of it by himself, and through the penultimate corner, tricky parts. I myself binned it last Friday during race nights of Roadrunner Racing. But across the line, what kind of lap time will you see out of Horning? It's a 1 minute 13.791. That is 3 seconds off the pace of our lead car, Envy. Sicknick out on an out lap, as you'd imagine, and so is Big Man. No, Big Man Joe still in the pits, and KDB on a fast lap. Now, KDB, purple sector 1, is what you love to see. He's going to be at a disadvantage in the championship heading into November. He's not going to be at his wheel, from what I know. So he's going to try his best to make sure he gets as much points before then, because November is not too far away, is it? But right now, Big Manjo is still in the pit. Sicknick on an out lap. KDB on a fast lap. Horning probably on an in lap himself. Ooh, almost cutting the chicane there. The Novel chicane, KDB. Let's stay on board as he goes through the stellar track of Monaco, as I like to say. Almost nicks the wall. Does nick the wall, and we've seen drivers in Formula 1 and in Bwoah Racing League nick the wall on that part of the track. into the swimming pool chicane previously, and KDB across the line will go second fast, 1 minute 12.029, 2 seconds off the pace of our lead car, who is Envy, and Sicknick is on a fast lap, and Big Man Joe just came out for an out lap, and I think Sicknick's rear kicked out quite a bit. He picks off sector 1 from KDB's time sheet, and he is purple sector 1. Sector 2, he needs to get it spot on. Can he? He's almost sliding. The rear kicking out aggressively as he heads into the tunnel. Not the greatest of lap times, at least heading into sector 2, I'm sure. He's got a lot more in him, and he'll be trying to pull off the very same heading into the next lap through Novel Chicane. Pretty much takes it to the edge of that curb, and he is flying as much as he can, going through sector 2 considerably quicker than someone like Horning, who was at this point in his lap beyond a minute on the timesheets, through the penultimate corner, through the final one. Can you get that exit spot on? Because on the main straight at the start finish line, what kind of lap time will we see out of the man in the Red Bull? It's a 1 minute 11.581. We've got a 1 minute 10, 1 minute 11, 1 minute 12, and 1 minute 13. And if this isn't a diverse grid in terms of talent, I don't know what is. But it's just a 6-car grid, so it's anyone's guess how the race will unravel. Hopefully my co-commentator joins me soon enough, Davin, who'll soon enough lend his insights into the track itself, into the drivers themselves. Considering in a shorter grid, smaller grid, anything can unravel. Let's hop on board purple sector 1 for the man in the Alfa Romeo, Big Man Joe. So we've seen considerably each driver pick off sector 1 in particular every time they start a fast lap. So clearly they're more comfortable in sector 1, but somehow sector 2 and sector 3 is where they lack, and it costs them quite a bit of time in comparison to Envy in particular, our fastest driver so far in this session. Now through the Novel Chicane, we saw Big Man Joe take a similar line to that of Sicknick, and we're going to stay on board Big Man Joe. How quicker can he go? Now he's 53.3 into sector 2. He seemed quicker through sector 2 in particular in comparison to Sicknick at the very least. Remember, Sicknick only second fastest, not the fastest yet. Much quicker through sector 3, I'd say, Big Man Joe, but across the line, how quickly can he go? 1 minute, no, he wasn't quicker. He just wasn't quicker. Somehow Sicknick still the quicker one out of the pair. Big Man Joe finds himself not even close to Sicknick. He's below KDB. He's 4th fastest currently. That's only his first lap, mind you. So I expect each driver out on track, all 5 so far, improving on their lap times as you'd expect in any one of these sessions. 9 minutes left. And if you got predictions, folks watching, it's time to drop them in the chat. And even in the comments if you're watching it later on and not during the live stream itself. Purple sector 1 for Envy as he goes through that tunnel section. Stellar part of the track. Into the Novel Chicane once again. We've seen that line before, that the rear kicking out we've not seen before. But will Envy make it work? Through sector 2 he goes. He's already up 5/10 to his last lap time. How much more does he have in the tank to show for us on the timesheets? Gets it spectacularly right through the penultimate corner and through the final one. Across the line, he's gonna beat his own lap time if anything. 1 minute 10.64, almost a 1 minute 10 dead. 1 minute 10.14 not. And that is purple sectors through 1, 2 and 3. So you love to see KDB and Big Man Joe on fast lap times on their own, both considerably down, so they're just getting their elbows out to some sense, you know, taking it to the limit around a track like this one and trying their best to see where they can find the limit through each sector, through each corner even, and through each exit for that matter. And we're going to see some of even more quicker lap times coming through from some of these drivers. 1 minute 10.140 is the benchmark set by Envy. I'm pretty sure we're going to see Big Man Joe, Horning, KDB and Sicknick improve considerably over the next 7 minutes or so. Unfortunately, we don't get to see a lap time out of Freeze, considering, as I mentioned previously, he was looking forward to this race. and he will be racing. It's just that qualifying didn't quite go his way. Oh, he goes fastest despite being a bit slower on that lap. He does go a bit slower in comparison to a particular sector only, if I saw that right, but 1 minute 11.871 from Big Man Joe. So clearly, we've not seen the best out of some of these drivers yet. Horning might just find himself at the back alone in this race, which is unfortunate because, mind you, when I think about some of the other drivers who were consistently competing with Horning at the back and in the midfield, they are missing. Who we see today out on track are all 4 drivers who've been competing up in front. Sicknig, mind you, has been the one facing some shortcomings, and he's been getting pushed down to the midfield, and the rear kicks out for Horning quite a bit. I think he was being a little bit indecisive on whether he wants to go into the pits or not, or maybe it's just the rear kicking out and fumbling his exit over the last couple of laps. We'll stay on board Horning, mind you, despite it being, oh my god, that was aggressive into turn 1, and mind you, it almost went completely crazy, almost met the same fate that Fries did as well. I'm surprised how both his end plates are intact, but the driver in the Alpine continues through on his quote-unquote fast lap, considering he would have lost quite a bit of time in that turn 1 incident. Nevertheless, as I was saying, opportunity for Horning though, at the race start at the very least. He's ahead of someone like Fries who's been practicing consistently for this race. He's got KDB up in front, Sicknig, Big Man Joe and Envy. You know, when there's a handful of cars up in front, chaos is probably not the most predicted outcomes, but surely it's going to get incredibly competitive up in front. And it's what we hope for. Guts coming through in the chat and apologizing for not showing up on track. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. We got 6 cars out on track. And we move. Just under 5 minutes left into short qualifying. And we've got one retirement so far, folks. We got Envy being the lead car, 1 minute fastest driver out on track, 1 minute 10.140. That is the lap time to beat. He's beat his own previous lap time, which still remains unbeaten to a certain extent, considering Big Man Joe, Sicknig, KDB and Horning still haven't beat that lap time. It would have been great to see if Envy decided to stay in the garage and pull off a Sebastian Vettel at Singapore way back when he was in Red Bull in particular. But yeah, Horning staying clear out of the way of KDB, who's on a fast lap. So let's jump on board KDB. He's clearly pushing to the limit. Apparently he's cancelled a lot of his plans to make it here. It's the kind of dedication you want to see from a sim racing driver. 2-time champ, if I got that right, in the Bwoah Racing League. And he is pushing for the 3rd, if anything. If it's anyone's guess, if anyone can push for the 3rd, it's got to be KDB. Through the Novel chicane, a similar line of that other drivers we've seen push to the limit over the curb. I'm surprised they've not been thrown off by that curb yet. That curve's been throwing me off during my practice sessions quite a bit. Through the swimming pool chicane as well. Penultimate corner, can get spot on. Exits are tricky around Monaco. Final corner at that. How closer can you get to the fastest driver out on track? 1 minute 10.140. He does not get close enough, but he will be the 2nd fastest driver out on track. This is fantastic. Four viewers for a 6-car grid is what I love to see. Let's make it 6. Call your friends, folks. Get them in and see the frenzy that will unravel heading into turn 1 in lap 1 of the Bwoah Racing League Season 7, race number 6 around the Monte Carlo street circuit. Oh, getting all fidgety heading into the entrance of the tunnel section for KDB in the McLaren. But he will back off. Of course, this just might be his in lap after all. Sicknig is on a fast lap of his own. Big Man Joe goes 3rd fastest. He is ahead. He is well ahead of Sicknig and Horning by the looks of it. 3/10, 5/10, if anything. And let's actually see, have a look at the gaps. Okay, 3/10, the gap between Envy and Sicknig, who just set a fast lap. Would you look at that? As I say it, it's almost like he heard it and he just punched the words right out of my mouth. 3/10 away from Envy by the looks of it, and he'll be looking to improve considerably the last couple of minutes. So drivers have one last run in them, And we see Envy coming out on an outlap horning heading in. Let's see if he can make it out in time. I doubt if he can. I think he's going to settle for 5th fastest. He has, in some sense, gotten ahead of Freeze, having survived the qualifying session. Sector 2 lights up yellow. That's the rest side. But that is a flying big man Joe. And he's got the sights of an Alpine who says well and clear off the racing line to ensure big man Joe continues on his outlap. And he is sprinting to the line. He's trying his best to start a fast lap as soon as possible. Sick Nick, I wonder if he's going to try and reach the line for another fast lap. Clearly right now it's a warm-up lap of sorts for him. Yeah, I think he's just trying his best to get a gap to the next driver. Yeah, it doesn't head into the pits. So it's all to play for, folks. It is Envy, Sick Nick, Big Man Joe. 3 drivers out on track. All 3 trying to set a fast lap for that coveted pole position around a track like Monte Carlo that we've seen. As pristine as it might be, rain can roll the ultimate dice in the race, so qualifying counts for so much more. 4/10 up into Sector 1 by the looks of it, and into Sector 2 he goes Envy. That is purple Sector 1 on the track map, and still setting the benchmark. Oh, he slows down. He aborted. He aborts his lap. 1 minute 10.140. He says he's happy with it. KDB on an outlap. He's sprinting to the line, trying to start a fast lap of his own. Big Man Joe 7/10. That's a whopping 7/10 up through Sector 2 by the looks of it. And through Sector 3 he goes out, invalidates his lap time around as he went through the swimming pool chicane, if I got that right. That is tragic to see, but he will be starting another fast lap by the looks of it. And hopefully he gets it even more quicker, and hopefully the lap data isn't right, or might just be right by the looks of it. Sicknig might not be able to make it to the line after all, and that is the end of the qualifying session for Sicknig. KDB and Big Man Joe, the only 2 drivers who can trump Envy's pole position, his provisional pole, snatch it away from him if anything. And that is 13 hundredths of a second up on his lap time. Big Man Joe, I saw KDB up on Sector 1. There was a flurry of smoke going through there. Was that a lockup from Big Man Joe? Or was that a lockup from KDB? I wonder. Regardless, all to play for here. This is for the front row. This is arguably for pole position as well. KDB, Big Man Joe, 2 champions of the Bwoah Racing League, going toe to toe around Monte Carlo for the first grid box. Who's gonna come out on pole? KDB, Big Man Joe, KDB, Big Man Joe. Of course, first one across the line is gonna be Big Man Joe, followed by KDB. And Big Man Joe currently 4th fastest. He's been trumped by KDB already. How much higher up will he go across the line? Only 1/3 fastest, and he will be starting on the 2nd row. KDB, how quicker did he go? Is he going to be starting on the 2nd row? He stays 4th fastest. Big Man Joe trumps KDB, but it is Envy who takes the coveted pole position around the Monte Carlo Street Circuit of Monaco. Oh, with 6 drivers out on track. It's just as staggering as it is every season here in the Bwoah Racing League. And off to the race we go. So folks, the moment has come. It's time for the race. It's a 50% race distance race, and with just 6 drivers, I just hope the weather is clear. I don't hope for the weather to be clear. I'm pretty sure the drivers do. If the gaps extend beyond times that clearly they can't they can't follow each other close enough. It's going to start becoming a bit of a stagnant race of sorts. Nevertheless, with Free starting in P6, with Envy starting on pole, with KDB, Big Man Joe, Sicknig and Horning in the mix, it's anyone's guess what will unravel, at least on the first couple of laps, let alone into turn 1 and thereafter. Hopefully we see a bit of rain at the tail end of this race. Love to see that shake it quite a bit with 6 drivers out on track. And hopefully we're joined by Davin momentarily. Soon enough. But right now, as it stands, Envy on pole position. Sicknig starting on the front row, I think for the first time this season, if I'm not wrong. I could be wrong. I think he started once before. He hasn't gotten pole yet. But he'll be looking to do some damage control for the last couple of races. I think Monaco in particular. He should have practiced quite a bit. He seemed confident. Freeze has come with the utmost preparation, but he's had a terrible qualifying. He's retired on track, and now in the race itself, he's got to climb up the ranks. Of course, even if he does manage to cross Horning into turn 1, going up thereafter, he's got to cross Big Man Joe, KDB, Sicknig, and then reach up to Envy, and then battle him off around a track like Monaco, where, you know, a tiny mistake will cost you more than just one position, depending on which part of the track you made that mistake. And anything is possible with even 6 drivers. But there we have it, folks. 5 lights for the Bwoah Racing League. Race number 6 of Season 7 on the Monte Carlo circuit, and 5 lights are out, and away we go. We got Envy with a stellar start. Sicknig seemingly didn't get that stellar start, as you'd imagine. KDB close behind, almost gets sideways, and that is contact between himself and Big Man Joe, and that has cost him not 1 but 2 positions into turn 1. Clearly getting their elbows out pretty early on, these drivers, despite being a small grid. And now Freeze seemingly didn't quite get that stellar start despite being at the back of the pack. Lockups coming through from the front too as well. And Big Man Joe staying P3, Horning down P4. He's going to have a smile on his face, I'm pretty sure. And Freeze to follow that train of drivers. 6 drivers so far in this race as we've started. We're only on lap number 1 and through to the Noel chicane. Who will fumble and who will not? Similar lines as you'd imagine from each one of the top 3. And a seconds gap being opened up between Envy and Sicknig up in front. Machine Sicknig is fresh for the picking for Big Man Joe. Oh, contact once again for KDB, now into the rear of Freeze. KDB is not having a great time out there, and Freeze seemingly not having the best of times. And that is front wing gone and front right tire gone as well. Horning retiring from the session. He was looking stellar in P4, but that has cost him quite a bit and cost him the race itself. That is safety car on lap number 1 with a mere 6 cars out on track. Freeze darts straight into the pits, and KDB stays out, having come together with Big Man Joe pretty early on. He is still running P4, but on a fresh set of mediums. Envy is the other car running on a fresh set of mediums, and that is Sicknig and Big Man Joe on the hards, and Freeze switching quickly to the hards. Well, go figure what kind of lap 1 that was with mere 6 cars out on track. Oh, drive-through penalty for speeding under safety car for someone like KDB. It just could be a game issue. I'm pretty sure it'll be looked at post-race, but right now it is all eyes on the prize, which is climbing up the order for KDB. He'll be looking to do that, I'm sure. Free is, of course, getting this free pit stop off, so it's pretty early on. Surprised to see him get himself a free pit stop of sorts. He will be able to close the gap, I'm pretty sure, ahead of the safety car restart. Envy leading this race ahead of Sicknig and Big Man Joe. Pretty huge gaps. I just hope they can bunch themselves up together ahead of the race. Unfortunate to see Horning out of this race so early on into lap 1. I think there was a real opportunity for him to get a good points haul in this race, considering so many drivers being absent. There's yellow flags all around, and I'm surprised not to see the safety car yet. I did see it out on track earlier, and it was ahead of KDB, and I believe KDB made the pass as well. Could be just parked on track or just running on. Yeah, that is sector 2. It is in sector 2, as we can see on the track map. And then he's closing in on the safety car. There it is. There we go. He's going to have to cut his speed and follow the safety car. That'll be dictating the pace of this race for now. As the debris gets cleared, Horning's car being cleared off of sector 3. Unfortunate to see a driver retire so early on in such a small grid. But we continue, folks. We continue because there's a race to be won and there are podium positions to be handed out. 5 drivers fighting for 3 podium positions. Probably not what you love to see, but it is quite the challenge, and they're going to be on the limit, craving for those podium positions. To be standing on the podium position in Monaco. On the podium, my apologies. To be standing on the podium around Monaco, despite having such a small grid, is quite the feat, even in the Bwoah Racing League, I'd say. Quite the feat. Big man Joe, currently ranked P3. He's got KDB to worry about at safety car restart with fresher tires, medium tires. You know, statistically, he needs to be quicker. He will be quicker, and he needs to be quicker. He needs to make that pass pretty early on, not get closed off by Big man Joe the way he did pretty early in lap 1 at the very least. We're on lap number 4, folks, and if you're tuning in right now, this is the Bwoah Racing League race number 6 around the Monte Carlo street circuit. Yes, the attendance is low, but as you can see, you have noticed from the left hand side part of your screen, you got 1 retirement, Horning. But an unfortunate retirement, unfortunate meeting of the wall in sector 3, and his front right went flying out, and front wing will detach completely. End of the race for him. Thankfully didn't collect any of the other drivers, so we got 5 drivers out on track. Envy leading the charge, Sicknick to follow, Big Man Joe, KDB and Freeze. There we have 5 cars, all to play for, 3 podium positions. And safety car is in this lap, folks. Safety car is in this lap, which means Envy is handed the baton of dictating the pace ahead of the start. He will be dictating an AlphaTauri, Red Bull, Alfa Romeo, McLaren, Mercedes AMG Petronas. It has 5 cars going head to head. 5 different constructors going head to head around Monaco, and I think he should be go, go, go. Green flags all around, and at the race start, it is KDB heading into the pits. Unconventional moment of heading into the pits, I'd say, but that is the first set of hards he wanted. And he's going to get it. He's going to be considerably off the pace of the rest of the pack itself, and seemingly the front 2 have pulled away in comparison to the rest. And of course, Envy's mediums are clearly showing, but Sicknig is locking up as well. Or was it Envy locking up on the mediums? Could be either. Big Man Joe cautiously watching the 2 up in front, the 2 bulls up in front. Of course, that gap is well beyond a second between the front runners and Big Man Joe. Let's stay on board Sicknick because he's got the challenge in his hands, and as I say that, I see the gap. He's lost. In fact, he's lost time to Envy. Envy's really getting into the groove on those mediums, and he's pulled off 2 seconds gap, not even a seconds gap, but a 2 seconds gap, and Sicknick seemingly on the back foot. Envy sets the fastest lap time as you'd expect, 1 minute 13.148, and Sicknick on the back foot and inviting Big Man Joe almost into DRS. He's half a second off of Sicknick now. Big Man Joe's closing in. 4 tenths. Make that 3 tenths. He is almost breathing down the gearbox of the Red Bull. Within a lap, Big Man Joe's made up a second after fumbles from the man in the Red Bull. And Sicknick might just be fumbling this one, or is that his AI controlling the car? No, it is still Sicknick by the looks of it. So we might just see an opportunity to attack for Big Man Joe as he goes through the tunnel section of this track. I think heading into the next lap, we're going to see quite a bit of moves coming through from this. If you consider this one, the midfield, P3 and P4, might just be moves coming through the midfield. And finally, we've got DRS enabled in this race, and with that, Big Man Joe staying within a second will have what he needs. Slipstream, DRS, ERS in his favor as well. You can see him deploying it strategically through sector 1, because into sector 2 he wants to be there. He wants to be up in front, up right behind in fact of Sicknick, and hopefully breathing down his gearbox. Ooh, lockers, a lot of smoke through the hairpin section. I believe that might just have been enemy locking up quite a bit, and Sicknick had his own fair share of lockups as well. Half a second opportunity, ERS being deployed by Big Man Joe. Sicknick decides against it. 3/10 closing in. Noel chicane, get it spot on is what you'd want to be. Sicknick this time around did not fumble. And this is the fight to watch, folks. This will be the fight to watch over the next couple of laps. You can see how closer the Alfa Romeo is. Breathing down the gearbox of Sicknick. Okay, bit of wheel spin, but that is ERS being deployed on the straight for Sicknick. He is being tactical in his own way into turn 1, still ahead and holding on to P2. Freeze might just, I'd assume Freeze would see this as an opportunity, but he's fallen back considerably by the looks of it. He's got a 2-second gap to close in on Big Man Joe alone, and he'll be looking to do just the same. Things are getting as close as you'd expect between these two, Big Man Joe and Sicknick. And as he goes wide at the exit, the hairpin, and I think he's got spot on and opened up a bit of a gap, couple of tenths in fact once more. Sicknick, he has the advantage of the ERS, perhaps not anymore. Big Man Joe's been doing a considerably a good job at conserving ERS and spinning it through the last couple of laps. They're kicking out laps, they're kicking out quite a bit, and down the inside he's speaking. He's telling Sicknick he's right there, right behind him, ready to pick him off if he makes a mistake. And you can see these two, as much as they've been battling, and I'd argue that Sicknick's been holding up Big Man Joe considerably. Looking at that gap between Envy and Sicknick, it's almost like Sicknick's played second fiddle to Envy to a certain extent. Huge gap opened up there, over 7 seconds. And right now, Freeze has joined in the mix as well in this battle. He's well within half a second, or just over half a second, of Big Man Joe. And you can see these three cars traveling together to different parts of the track. And the Alfa Romeo being ambitious, will he be audacious enough to peek down the inside and send it? He will not, he'll just go back. He's going to bide his time. He's trying to pressure Sicknick into a mistake, and he does. He hits the wall and the rear kicks out. This is opportunity for Big Man Joe. Yeah, he's being cautious. He does not want Sicknick to have an easy fight, an easy time of taking that position back, but Big Man Joe just might be able to take that position easily after all. And the Red Bull driver Sicknick will have to concede, overshoots it over the curb. Now invites Freeze into the mix, who will get that stellar exit and make that pass onto Sicknick through sector 2 and into sector 3. It is not just one but two positions picked off from Sicknick, and Sicknick now currently runs P4. What an unfortunate moment for him, having started in P2, having started on the front row, losing that end plate. He heads into the pits. I wonder what will unravel right now. So that is a new set of tires, new set of medium tires, a new front wing for Sicknick. KDB has served his time penalty, in fact, of speeding in the pit lane. So he is running currently in P5. That is Sicknick coming out. How further away is he? He's still not. Oh, KDB seemingly has retired from the session. That is his AI out on track, by the looks of it. That just could be his AI out on track. Regardless, the race is on in the midfield of this tiny field. But you can see the gap between Big Man Joe, along with that bit of moment Sicknick had. It clearly costed quite a bit of time for Freeze as well, despite making that pass. It's over a second's gap to Big Man Joe for Freeze. He's going to be looking to close that gap as any racing driver would, and he's trying his best. A tenth a sector is at the very minimum would work, but by the looks of it, they are both on the same set of tires, and Big Man Joe can just keep on running, keep on pulling Freeze along the way and close that gap to Envy, because that's where the real challenge is, isn't it? Envy, having opened up that gap of 8 seconds to the rest of its competitors, finds himself with a spectacular advantage, and you can see Big Man Joe already closing that gap. Lock up, however, as he goes through into sector 2, he's brought that gap to under 8 seconds, of course a tenth or two under only, and he'll be looking to close that gap considerably. Seemingly Freeze on the back foot as well, hasn't closed that gap. That gap, which was over a second, is going well beyond 1.5 seconds now. I might just keep extending by the looks of it. So folks, we're on lap number 13 of the Bwoah Racing League, race number 6 on the Monte Carlo Street circuit. We had 6 drivers in this race. Horning retired on lap number 1, brought out the safety car. We had a moment for Sicknick where he got passed by not just one but by 2 drivers, Big Man Joe and Freeze. And now earlier on we had KDB have an incident into turn 1 with Big Man Joe. He was forced to pit thereafter, having not the stellar of laps thereafter, even at the safety car restart. And right now, he is back. He has returned. The rears are locking up. Despite that, he's closed that gap to sickening, and he will continue to close that gap because he is on the charge for the podium at the very least. And that could be in sights if he can close this 30-second gap. Of course, that is a huge feat to pull off, given that some of these drivers have to pit, given that anything can unravel at the end of the day. A safety car could still be on the cards. It's anyone's prediction, it's anyone's guess what will unravel in the remaining half of this race. We are on lap number 14, folks. Don't go anywhere and stay tuned because we're going to see some racing action soon enough. But right now, the shortest gap between two drivers, almost 2 seconds between Big Man Joe and Freeze. There you go, folks. I don't know if you caught it, but that is a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings being slapped onto that Red Bull car. That is the first track limit time penalty being awarded to a driver in this race. Previous one being for KDB. Of course, that was for speeding in the pit lane. Completely different reason. But Freeze seemingly has done considerably good job at closing this gap of sorts. He was well beyond 1.5 seconds. Now he finds himself under that. And that's 3-second time penalty for Freeze being handed. As you could see through the Novel chicane. Tricky. Trying to decide where the limit is on that part of the track. Now he is within a second. So that fumble might have costed quite a bit. And that is the rear right of that Alfa Romeo hitting the wall. And that just might have costed Big Man Joe position, but by the looks of it, he is doing damage control. He's going to try his best to fend off the Mercedes of Freeze, but Freeze will be breathing down his gearbox, breathing down the gearbox of the Alfa Romeo. 3/10 the gap. He's going to have DRS. He's going to have all the ERS he needs as well. As you can see, 56% in the tank. Both on the hard tires, the level playing field there. And Big Man Joe will have to fend off ambitious Freeze, if I may say, at the rear locks up for the Alfa Romeo through the app, and they go. Keep it clean is the name of the game through a track like this one on lap number 18. Oh, bit of wheel spin into the entrance of the tunnel there, and still within a second, so he'll be optimistic about the next lap. To the limit through the Nouvelle chicane and into sector 3 they go. Alfa Romeo and Mercedes. That advantage Freeze had opened up for himself, or in fact Big Man Joe handed that advantage to Freeze after a mistake. Might just be dissipating by the looks of it. This is the same part of the track, and overshoots it there, Mercedes, and that has cost him quite a bit of time, and that is level playing field once again. The gap well beyond a second, and that is back where we started on lap number 17. And we've got Big Man Joe heading into the pits after 18 laps on the hards. Freeze, mind you, has a lap left on that front. He's going to be trying to push. He'll be trying to push, make sure this lap is as good as his qualifying lap, which he couldn't set in the session. He's done a spectacular job, starting P6 up in a P2 so far. But Big Man Joe, where will he come out? Oh, so close to the Red Bull of sickening. As he flies past that Alfa Romeo, and out the pits he comes. He is down in P4 and 2 seconds gap to close in on sickening. Oh, that is the virtual safety car. I wonder what's gone wrong there. Which car is it? It could be KDB. It is KDB with no front wing. KDB has lost his front wing going through sector 3, the same part of the track we saw Horning retire from this race. KDB has lost his front wing while trying to mitigate the race result itself. He was trying to close the gap to the rest of the pack. He was just trying to catch up, but oh no, it's gone terribly wrong. That is a new set of tires. That's a full lap old tires from qualifying, I presume, or from the first stint of his in this race itself. That's a new front wing even, but that is a virtual safety car. Arguably a bit of a moment of opportunity for some, and we can see Envy capitalizing on this moment to a certain extent, pitting for that fresh set of hards to take to the end of the race. So 19 laps on the hards, we did see well and possible. 18 laps on the hards, truly possible. Freeze heads into the pits as well. That is a fresh set of mediums coming on board for Freeze. So that is a battle up in front. Sickening. Will he be making that pass on Freeze? Yes, he will, as Freeze exits the pit lane. So will Big Man Joe to follow, and Freeze will come out P4, but close enough to Big Man Joe. Not within a second. The gap is eerily similar to the last time. And KDB, you got a feel for the man. You can, I don't know if that is appropriate graphics for the tires, if I saw them right, but that is a relatively fresher set, and he's got, I mean, over a minute's gap to catch up with the front of the crew. In moments like this, one would do a little rain dance and hope, just hope, that things might just change, send the race a little bit left field, with the weather playing a role, as it has in the Bwoah Racing League on more than one occasion, in Monaco in particular. 3-second time penalty to add up to the aching race KDB is having, and he is trying his best to catch up. Well, on the bright side, he's gonna have an easier job to do this time around of catching up, considering Freeze and Big Man Joe will be tussling, getting their elbows out, going wheel to wheel soon enough through a circuit like this one, if they can at all go wheel to wheel briefly into the tunnel section perhaps. Wyfin in the chat says, why is Envy so much ahead? Well, he is our race leader and he's been known to pull off spectacular gaps pretty early on. So that goes to show how much skill and how much talent he brings to a game like this one in a league like this one. And as I talk about skill and talent, let's not forget Envy is defending champion of the Bwoah Racing League. So into season 7, it is his to lose. The championship is his to lose. And Sicknig racks up a 3-second time penalty once again. The tables have turned against him and things aren't going his way because he's got Big Man Joe within a second of him. Freeze not too far behind, and we've got ourselves that 3-car train in the midfield in this tiny field, as I've said once before. And he is breathing down the gearbox as he goes through penultimate corner and the final corner there, kicking out quite a bit, almost sending it into the wall. Opportunity for the Alfa Romeo, opportunity for Big Man Joe into turn 1. Will he be daring enough? Will he push the odds, if I may say? Through sector 1, he is going to be on top of that Red Bull almost. Through the inside, will we see the move wheel to wheel through sector 1 of Monaco? Is a sight for sore eyes for sure. And well ahead he goes, Big Man Joe, up in a P2. Next up, however, Freeze not too far behind, and he almost rear ends the Alfa Romeo there. Sicknig not having stellar times out there on track. And we can see how closer and closer Freeze is getting, and Sicknig not having the best of times out there despite being on those 11 lap old mediums, clearly at a disadvantage on the tyre front against these two who've pitted just recently. Half a second the gap between Freeze and Sicknig. Through the penultimate corner he does considerably well in comparison to the last lap Sicknig, and on the straight he's going to be using ERS as much as he can, trying to counter the advantage Freeze has with the DRS. And for those of you wondering, when the rear wing opens up, that is when you know the drag reduction system is activated or can be activated. And the drag reduction system can only be activated in certain parts of the track, and the straight is the only part of the track, if my memory serves me right, around Monaco, where you can use DRS. So we'll have DRS as long as you are within a second. If you go beyond a second's gap to your competitor up in front, you lose DRS. You cannot activate it. You won't be allowed by the game. And that is a fumble and a half, and make that 2 by Sicknig. Botches the exit, and out of the exit as well. Oh my god, the rear kicked out so much and he lost so much traction out of the Nouvelle chicane that it cost him a whole position. It was bound to lose that position over the next couple of laps, considering how close Freeze was. And that is yet another race going against Sicknig. Oh, and how unfortunate to see one of our race winners here in Bwoah Racing League having a tough time out on track. And with that, folks, race number 6 of the Bwoah Racing League around the Monte Carlo circuit continues. We're on lap number 25. Our race leader of Envy has been well ahead. 8 seconds gap, 10 seconds gap, and now well beyond 12 seconds gap to the closest competitor, if not the field itself, the rest of the field itself, on the hard tires, 4 lap old hards, and leading this race with a win in sights, if anything, on lap number 25. Big Man Joe to follow suit in P2. Opening up that 3-second gap to Freeze, who is currently running P3, having made that pass. Similar tire set to that of Big Man Joe, who is up in front. I think I can expect Freeze closing that gap to Big Man Joe. And Sicknick, who's not had the stellar of races, not had the stellar of laps, not had the stellar of moments around the Monte Carlo circuit. Trying his best to damage limitation in this race on lap number 26. KDB, he's had just as much as pain and suffering and incidents running in P5 as a sim racing driver in this race. But has he given up? No, he hasn't, because all positions award you points. Even if this was a 20 car grid here today, all positions award points. But what you need to do to receive those points is finish the race. And one driver that failed to finish here today is Horning. He retired from the session in sector 3 on lap number 1. Unfortunate for him, terribly unfortunate for him. He could have had a good points haul around a circuit like this one and arguably challenged for the podium itself. But we've got a driver pitting, and that is Sicknig, and has come around track on lap number 26 on a fresh set of soft tires. This is the first time we are seeing a driver on the soft tires around Monaco. It'll be interesting to see what he can do with those tires on lap number 26. Mind you, he's got 13 laps to survive on those softs. He'll be hoping for an incident or two. But with that, folks, I think we can take a bit of a breather considering the gaps opening up. I'll be paying close attention to the cars out on track. I hope so will yourselves. And if you got any kind of predictions, this is a good time to make them in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this thereafter. It is Envy leading this race as we speak. There we have it, folks. We are reaching our last 9 laps of this race. The last 10 laps or so of this race. We've seen interesting moments unravel. So for those of you watching, a bit of a recap, if anything. As we are at the Bwoah Racing League Season 7, race number 6 around the Monte Carlo Street Circuit. We've got our pole sitter and race leader so far, Envy. He's done a spectacular job. His time's unbeaten throughout qualifying, be it his first lap time or even the second one for that matter. And he's opened up this spectacular gap to the rest of the field well beyond 13 seconds. When you look at that, goes to show that some would say he's in a league of his own. Even better than the likes of General Pepe. Rare kicks out as I say that. That could have been the commentator's curse, having its fair share of play into some of these drivers' driving. But you didn't hear that from me, is what I'll say. But Big Man Joe, running P2, he has done a considerably spectacular, a good job. I leave that to the viewers to decide, and I'm pretty sure Big Man Joe will be happy with how things have unraveled at the race start, picking off not one but maybe not one driver, not even one driver at the race start, but thereafter picking off Sickling, who's had a terrible time out on track. Freeze to follow, who's made up quite a bit of position, started P6, finds himself up in P3. Sicknig having not the best of races once again. For some reason, Season 7 is not panning out the way he would have hoped for. Not seeing the ups, or not the ups, but perhaps the highlight moments from Season 6 that we got to see from Sicknig, right? And particularly in qualifying, he's been up ahead. He's shown that stellar speed we've seen from Sicknig once before. But in the race itself, we are not seeing that one bit. But nevertheless, he'll come back stronger, I'm sure. Currently running on a 5-lap-old soft tires, down in P4, having started in P2. KDB, not the race he'd hoped for. Mistakes. And perhaps even the game playing its tricks. And throw a penalty or two into the mix, and he's had a terrible race so far. 15-lap-old mediums. He's running on 15-lap-old mediums, and he's currently running P5, having started only P4. And of course, we've had a retirement so far in Sector 3. No front right tire, and front wing gone flying off an Alpine of Horning. Unfortunate to see. He could have had a good points haul, but he has missed out once again. 5 drivers out on track. I would have loved to say and repeat myself and say all to play for. And as much as anything can unravel in the next 7 laps or so, by the looks of it, this might just be our finishing order. Let's quickly look at our time penalties, if they stay. If they remain, however, I don't think it shakes up the grid much either. 3-second time penalty for Freeze, which means Sicknig, having that 6-second time penalty is going to cost him quite a bit. He's 14 seconds off of Freeze, which is quite a big gap to make up for. He's not had a great run so far either. KDB, 3-second time penalty for himself. He served a drive-through penalty, speeding in the pit lane penalty already. Despite that, he gets a 3-second time penalty. It'll be interesting to see if that'll be waived off by the stewards. I highly doubt it, because it was for track limits, multiple warnings and so. So he's going to stay P5. 30 seconds the gap between himself and Sicknig. So that's not going anywhere. So with that, folks, I think that is your grid order. Sorry, the finishing order is what I'll say on lap number 33. I would love for some rain to come down on us right now in Monaco. It would be stellar. Put everything into a frenzy. But I doubt that will happen on our screens as we speak. Envy continues to lead this race and is set for a victory. For those of you watching, and I think we had a moment where the number of viewers were equivalent to the number of cars out on track, which is spectacular to see. Thank you very much. If you are new here, make sure you hit that like and subscribe buttons. Of course, as you can see, we've got plenty of spots in our league to fill up. So make sure you head into our Discord. You'll find the Discord link in our social channels. If you don't find it, you can DM us on Twitter or Instagram, and we will get you hooked up and get you racing around the tracks of our Season 7 calendar. Heading into Season 8 thereafter, it's going to be stellar. We're trying to improve race on race. Of course, hopefully we will be able to populate the comms box as well. if you are interested in getting behind the mic for a league race, I think this is a stellar place to start off with. I'm your host, The Taxter, and we're on lap number 34 of race number 6 of the Bwoah Racing League Season 7 around the Monte Carlo Street Circuit. That is a retirement. That is a retirement on track also, mind you. And that is a retirement at the exit of Nowhere Chicane. That is KDB. That's the end of his race. I didn't see damage, but that is terrible to see. At least a P5. At least a P5 could have been on the cards for KDB. But that spells the end of the race for the driver in the McLaren. He's had a tough day, and it just ended on a sour note. Hopefully he can come back heading into the next race. And by the looks of it, we'll have 4 drivers out on track. 4 drivers hopefully finishing the race as well. It is Envy, Big Man Joe, Freeze and Sicknick out on track, folks. With a virtual safety car in play, I don't think much will happen. They're not going to get a full safety car. We're going to have a virtual safety car, and we're going to resume racing soon enough. We're on lap number 35, just a handful of laps left. Envy will be looking to close that gap. No, Envy has no gap to close, of course, apart from the one from right now to lap number 39. But if he'll be looking to do anything, he'll be looking to extend that gap even more. But the gap is sizable enough, 12, 13 seconds. My God, my word. Envy on a league of his own up in front. And we have someone pitting, and that is Sicknick for another set of soft tires. He'll be hoping to pick off the fastest lap at the very least, get himself a point. Cheeky Sicknick, and as he should be, considering he has had a terrible race, and he'll be able to jump back with at least a point more than the one being awarded for his position. Freeze heads into the pits after 15 laps on the mediums. He spotted the free pit stop he saw on the timesheets at the very least, with that enormous gap to Sicknick. He will not lose that last podium position, but Sicknick tries his best at flying through this particular lap. It's going to count for so much more. We might just see a final battle between these two for the final position, final podium position. And that is a time penalty which Freeze had carried over 3 seconds, and our Sicknick having 6 seconds in time penalties might just cost him the podium position, even if he closes in and makes this pass. Enormous feat to pull off in these last couple of laps, and mind you, these two drivers will be pushing to the limit, and I think this is going to be a proper challenge for the fastest lap time as well. Freeze and Sicknick on soft tires. Big Man Joe deciding to remain out on track with 16 lap old mediums. He does seemingly might just be able to pull off a quick pit stop, a free one at that, but it is too close to call. It would be too close to call for him, and I think he'd rather settle for P2 and not really challenge for the fastest lap. Of course, I think Freeze hit the wall there a couple of times, but right now as it stands, Envy set in sights for the win. Okay, we got a glimpse of the fastest lap time from Sicknig as he ended that lap. I wonder if Freeze can pull off a similar feat. Okay, toe to toe for the fastest lap. That's the racing action we're gonna get on this penultimate and final laps of this race. Noel chicane still proving to be a challenge for Sicknig. And it's cost him quite a bit of time, couple tenths at the very least. He's tried his best to close that gap to Freeze, but I don't think he will be wrecking out quite a bit. So the only challenge in hand right now between any two drivers is the one for the fastest lap, and Freeze just picked off 1 minute 11.959 is the lap time to beat from Freeze. He set the fastest lap time, so it's Sicknig versus Freeze, Freeze versus Sicknig. Who will be the fastest one around the Monte Carlo street circuit in a single lap? It's all to play for. It's all to play for. That's the only thing you have to play for right now in this race between these drivers. A disappointing showing in terms of attendance. Nevertheless, it is this guy who started on pole position and is now starting his final lap of the Monaco GP of the Bwoah Racing League Season 7. We're 6 races in, folks. 6 races in of Season 7. We've seen some stellar racing action. We've had about the most populated grid being 12 cars, 11 or 12 cars. And the racing's been just as good as when we used to have. And that is a moment for Envy, our race leader, through the hairpin. And that is fastest lap time for Freeze, 1 minute 11.757. Does this open up an opportunity on the final lap for Big Manjo? A bit of a humongous feat to pull off. Oh, to close that gap over 20 seconds is almost impossible. But a moment on the final lap is not something I expected from Envy. But clearly, he's had a not so stressful race. But he's had a race of patience, a race of, getting it right through every corner, through every lap, keeping it clean as he gets as close to the walls as he can. But through the penultimate corner as he comes, he's the defending champion of the Bwoah Racing League. And in the Bwoah Racing League Season 7, Envy goes 2 for 2 as he wins and comes across the line to win the Monaco GP of the Bwoah Racing League Season 7. And the race number 6 is his for the taking. Top step of the podium for the man in the Alpha Tauri. Big Manjo crosses the line, 2 wins and make that multiple podiums. He is on the podium once again in Monaco. Crosses the line P2, but this is the challenge we've been looking at. This is what was there to play for. Freeze crosses the line. He was the last one to pick our fastest lap time. The fastest lap time, can he keep it is the question. He does end up on the podium. He will take the last step out of the podium, but is that all he can get? Because driver of the day, I reckon, is Freeze after all. P6 to P3. That climb, despite having not set a lap time around Monte Carlo, he makes it on the podium. Oh, you gotta feel for KDB. You gotta feel for Horning. Opportunities just run away from the grasp of the driver, if you could say. There you go. A feisty Envy emote on the podium. And we got Big Manjo in P2, and we got, Freeze in P3. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can call it a day. We've had a stellar race number 6, a disappointing showing of cars out on track, of drivers out on track. Hopefully that changes heading into the next race as we head to the fantastic track over in Belgium. We'll see you on the next race, folks. And hopefully you tune in once again. Those of you watching later on and not during the live stream, thank you very much. For those of you who tuned in during the live stream, we had the same number of drivers out on track. Would you look at that? I'm pretty sure no other league has that, or perhaps rarely at the very least. Regardless, folks who watched, thank you very much. It's your host, Sitaxter, as always. See you again next race, folks. Cheers.